Mr. Speaker, I'm happy at this time to yield 5 minutes from my friend and colleague, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Fattah.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. And I thank the gentlelady for yielding me time, and I thank the Speaker. My colleague from Pennsylvania is concerned about victory for our enemies. Well, the victory for our enemies is made possible by us pursuing a failed policy. We are creating an inevitable situation in which our country continues to lose prestige and support around the world. But much more importantly, we're losing the precious lives of our young people, and tens of thousands have been injured. Now, I was over at Walter Reed. I met with and visited with some of the wounded soldiers, and I will never forget the day I met Cassandra Bryant, 20 years old, lost both her legs to an improvised explosive device in Iraq, and she was in a mechanical unit that was supposedly nowhere near the front line, but nonetheless, for the rest of her life, she will have to go without her legs. And her sacrifice on behalf of our country, if in the face of a national security threat, would be understandable, and she was prepared to even give more. But to sacrifice so much, our young people have done it in a place, in a war that we should have never fought, we should have never been in. There was ample information and evidence that Saddam possessed no weapons of mass destruction. The international inspectors were forced out of the country when, first of all, they found none and they wanted to continue their work. This administration rushed to a judgment into a war in which we have spent hundreds of billions of dollars, in which over 3,000 young people have lost their lives. And in Philadelphia, for Mrs. Sapala and for Mrs. Jeffcoat and for other mothers and fathers who have lost their sons and daughters in Iraq, this war and this effort in Iraq, which some suggest if we would just prosecute it more vigorously, would somehow overnight become a success. We need to look at the conduct of this war on behalf of our armed forces. This administration has failed our troops on the ground on so many occasions. On one occasion, there was a shortage of bullets. On others, we've seen reports that they were not having access to enough long rifles. We know that they've never had, in the 4 years now, enough up-armored vehicles to be able to do their patrols. We have failed to provide the body armor and Calvar vests that are necessary in the quantities that are needed. The embarrassment of the conduct of this war is only equal to the stupidity that took us to Iraq in the first place. And what we need to do is not just vote in support of this resolution, but this Congress would do better if we would understand that our young men and women don't wear Democrat or Republican dog tags. They are sons and daughters of our country. They are precious. Their willingness to sacrifice on behalf of our nation should not be taken for granted, and that we should move to redeploy. Forget the question of an additional surge. We should why would we want to have our young people in a situation where the only time the Sunnis and the Shiites stop killing each other is when they both are willing to turn their weapons against our young people? We're in the middle of a civil war. It's clearly, in the case of a civil war, the definition suggests that we are unwelcome visitors. We should redeploy, and if there are needs that, and I think there are, for peacekeeping and stabilization forces, we should ask some of our friendly Arab countries in the region to provide some of their troops. We provide over $1 billion a year to the Egyptian military, one of the largest in the world, and the largest in the Arab world. They do joint training with our troops and have so for decades. If there's a need for troops, let's get our young people out of the way. And since the President said we went there, in part to stabilize the region for our friendly Arab neighbors, let them step forward now and secure the region. Our young people have done the hard work. They've done the heavy lifting. They have died on the fields of battle in Iraq, and it's time for this Congress to act responsibly. Let us rise on this day and speak not just in symbol but in substance on behalf of the fighting men and women of the American military. Thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields.